Hello everyone, I'm Priscilla Gaudoin, the Head of Risk and Compliance at Ruleguard, and I'm joined by Matthew Bruce, our Platform Director. How should firms sort of use technology in CASS compliance?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. As you know, for us, CASS was really where we started at Ruleguard, dealing with some of the changes that came out of PS 14.9 and after that. And for us, we identified some of the features of CASS that make it particularly suited to using technology, not least of which the CASS rules themselves are very wide-ranging in nature. By which I mean there are a lot of them and they're fairly complex, but also that operationally they affect quite a lot of a firm's day-to-day business. So if you're a firm that is bound by the CASS rules, those rules probably have fingerprints on a large proportion of what you do as a business. So that means that your documentation about business processes and controls is likely to be very large and complex.
And in terms of sort of CASS compliance, but also you touched there upon identifying where your risks are. How would technology help you with that?
So you can use technology to fully replace something like a risk register that you've got. And there are so many advantages that you would gain in doing that over perhaps using something like a spreadsheet to log risks. Those are advantages about audit trail and keeping track of changes over time, but also just grouping and organising your data. So again, if you have a complicated set of risks or a complicated set of business processes that those risks attach to, you probably want to organise those by lots of different dimensions or ways of thinking about that risk. So what rules and rule books does it apply to? What areas of the business? What teams, what geographical locations? You probably want MI and oversight of all of these different things when it comes to thinking about your risk. And it's only really possible to do that with a proper fit-for-purpose tech solution.
You touched there upon different jurisdictions, different countries. How does that relate to Ruleguard and Ruleguard's technology?
Well, Ruleguard was designed from the outset to be adaptable to any jurisdiction and any set of compliance, really. It's not just client asset rules, and it's not UK specific, in as much as we started with CASS, and we have some features that are built to service some of those specific things about the UK CASS regime. The features in Ruleguard we've seen customers adopt for use beyond the UK as well, so with the Irish car regime and similar regimes around the world. And really any compliance area that's similar and has those questions of needing to organise your regulatory obligations, document the control environment, and prove by way of assurance data what that those things are actually happening, then Ruleguard and technology is useful in that sense.
And we talked about CASS being the sort of solution for Ruleguard in the beginning. How has Ruleguard developed over time?
As well as looking at different regulation that's come into force with our customers since then. So there have been big developments in areas like SMCR, Consumer Duty, and we're looking at things like the operational resilience rules now. So as well as regulatory change like that, we've also been growing out the feature set within Ruleguard to cope with all those different challenges, regulatory areas. And what we've ended up with is a sort of a platform really that tries to tackle compliance as an end-to-end journey. So starting with the rules and the regulations, the regulatory obligations that you've got, going through that documentary process, then onto risk and what can go wrong. That's led us to develop things like breach register and issues logs. Moving into the assurance space, so we have features about attestations, task checklists and things like that, and then ultimately to oversight and governance, and how firms can then use the platform to surface those learnings about their compliance documentation that they've put into the platform. So all of that has really then led us to build out a platform that has an idea of how you should do compliance in Ruleguard terms. And it's that journey from, I would say, from rules to reporting. That is what it means to do compliance, at least in Ruleguard terms.
That's great. Thank you. And that's lovely talking to you, Matt.